Thanks for your patience. Welcome to the Eureka Centre, and thank you for joining us for this very special NAIDOC Week event with Wadawurrung Elder, Aunty Marlene Gilson. This year's NAIDOC theme is For Our Elders, and we are honoured to have Aunty Marlene with us today to speak about her life, her art, and her eldership during an extraordinary period of cultural revival for the Wadawurrung people. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we meet today on the lands of the Wadawurrung people, who are also referred to by many traditional owners as the Wadawurrung people. Pay my respects to elders past, present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And with utmost respect, I acknowledge Aunty Marlene Gilson. The site of the Eureka Stockade was and always will be Wadawurrung country. And for many years, Aunty Marlene has brought a foundational Wadawurrung perspective to the interpretation of the Eureka Stockade. I also wish to acknowledge Aunty Marlene's extended family who are with us today, many who have followed in her footsteps and have had extraordinary professional careers as artists as well. And any other Wadawurrung people here today, any elders that I may not have introduced personally, thanks for joining us. Before I introduce our guests, some housekeeping. Please turn off your phones. Very important. There's always someone that forgets. And no filming or photography is permitted at any point during this event, and I ask that you please respect this request. It's very important. It's now my great pleasure to invite Aunty Marlene's daughter, Deanne Gilson, to present the Welcome to Country with the support of Aunty Marlene's son, Barry Gilson. Please join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Nia Warren Narak Dian, Wadawurrung Elder, Benganak Gayupunun, Gubma, Mokburi and Bagaruk. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, all First Peoples, elders and their families that are present here today, including my mum, Wadawurrung Nawet Aunty Marlene Gilson, guest curator Kiri Smart, and thank you to the manager of the Eureka Centre, Anthony Cam, for allowing this conversation to take place today. As we come together on Wadawurrung Jar means country. My name is Dr. Deanne Gilson. I'm a proud Wadawurrung woman, mother, artist, cultural educator, and Marlene's daughter. We are gathered here today for NAIDOC Week 2023, and the theme being For Our Elders. Curator Kiri is highly respected by our family, especially my mum, and has been there on many of mum's highly acclaimed adventures and artistic journeys, including the Sydney Biennale in 2018, where mum had her big solo show at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. Mum's story overrides the amnesia of the past, and that this is not Wadawurrung country, and that her body is deeply linked to the spirits of time and place and our ancestors. The presence of our people in every one of her paintings affirms that we are and were and still are here, acknowledging that sovereignty has never been ceded. We are alive and have resisted the restrictions placed on us through settlement and beyond. Furthermore, showing us that contemporary art practices mix with traditional stories like our creation story, which Mum was the first person to paint, reclaim back cultural knowledge and lost Wadawurrung women's business. Mum has strengthened her own identity and that of her children. She is a proud Wadawurrung leader, and that has led in a quiet manner, often outed in her community. She's a humble woman who paints daily in her lounge room studio in Gordon. Mum also did the first Welcome to Country many years ago, just showing that First Peoples can actually reclaim back their culture and the act of ceremony. So, with the act of ceremony too, the ceremonies were stopped for many thousands of years and hundreds of years, sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Oh my God, where did I go then? I had a late night at Pawang last night. And we're very proud that Mum has done that, because that's also, it's now a contemporary ceremony, but the traditional ceremonies were really linked to allowing people a safe passage and allowing them to come and share the resources of this country. But sadly, We don't own this country, and this country has been taken from us. So, on behalf of my ancestors and my elders and my family, I would like to say, Kimbani Bad Darabaguk, Yanniking We Eat Wadawurrung Jar, Umalik Monamith Mirabina, Umaralik Bulutumurup, Wigung Myring. Welcome to Wadawurrung Country, everyone. And Gobata Kimbani Ba, Nyatni. Thank you, everyone.
Just going on Deanne's lead, I haven't sung for thousands of years. I'm only 49. I'll take my hat off. And I might take one glove off because I have to hold the sticks. My sister Tammy said that she didn't want me to sing loud. So I was going to use them sticks, right? So this, I'll give you an example. Bonjour! She said I couldn't sing that loud. So you got these ones, haven't you? Now, before I have a sing, I watched Mum paint it. I watched Mum paint most of her paintings. I've just sat there and I've been intrigued. And the stories that are related back to my spirit, I try to replicate them in song. So that's what I do. Anyway, I sing in front of you and thousands of people at music festivals. Just checking if they're real, they're not. I am. Anyway, okay. And in true spirit to myself, I've always been a bit of a rebel, so I'm going to use these. See you right next to you. Now for my next trick. It's called a disappearing act. Bye-bye. I'm Barry Gilson. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry, and thank you, Deanne. And today, Aunty Marlene will be in conversation with her very good friend, Kiri Smart, and it's a chance to get to know a little more about Aunty Marlene, about her life, her artistic practice, and her contributions to community. And it's just thinking before, as Deanne was there, and with Tammy and Barry and yourself, Aunty Marlene, that it's quite a legacy that, you know, that's followed in your footsteps. It's really a great kind of artistic dynasty. I think we're probably on the way to rivaling some of the great artistic dynasties of the country with the success you've all had, particularly in the last decade. And So it's an opportunity also to unveil Aunty Marlene's painting, Eureka. And it's a painting that was commissioned for the Eureka Centre to present a Wadawurrung perspective on the Eureka Stockade. And the painting is informed by oral histories passed down to Aunty Marlene by your grandmother, I believe. That's correct. And it's a great and very important story, and something that's been left out of the kind of earlier histories of the telling of the story of the Eureka Stockade. The painting has been reproduced, and you may have seen this as you entered the building on our main wall. That's really important because it reinforces that the Eureka Stockade occurred on the lands of the Wadawurrung people. It's the first thing our visitors will see, and it's a strong reinforcement, and it's told through the voice of a Wadawurrung Elder, which is the most important thing. We are going to do some more work on our exhibition. It's a very inadequate recognition of Wadawurrung on the goldfields and in relation to the Eureka Stockade, and we'll consult Aunty Marlene and include her painting in that as well. So please join me now in welcoming to the stage Aunty Marlene Gilson and Kiri Smart. I'll begin by introducing Aunty Marlene. Learning her Wadawurrung history from her grandmother, Aunty Marlene began painting while recovering from an illness. Her meticulously rendered works display a narrative richness and theatrical quality akin to the traditional genre of history painting. However, she privileges those stories relating to her ancestral land, which covers Ballarat, Werribee, Geelong, Skipton and the Otway Ranges. Often including her two totems, Bunjil the Eagle and Wah the Crow, her paintings not only reconfigure historical narratives, but display her spiritual connection to country. And when we first approached Aunty Marlene about being in conversation, the first person she wanted to be in conversation with was her dear friend, Kiri Smart.
We do like to chat.
Yeah. Then Kiri is the newly appointed Heritage Collections Officer with the City of Ballarat, working through the Art Gallery of Ballarat. And she began working at the Art Gallery of Ballarat in 2009, and most recently as a curator. She has also worked at the Shepparton Art Museum as Digitisation and Collection Officer. And Kiri moved to Ballarat from Melbourne in 1994 to study sculpture at the Arts Academy with Peter Blizzard and Adrian Morix, and since that time has been an active force in Ballarat's arts community. And she's currently a board member on the Ballarat Arts Foundation, and from 1997 to 2008 she was the General Manager at the Granary Lane Theatre and Gallery in Ballarat. Now I'll hand over to Kiri, and please enjoy this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony, and thank you for that beautiful welcome, Deanne, and the original Goldtown City boy, Barry Gilson. I was feeling really nervous, but somehow you've given me a laugh, so thanks, that's just what I needed. Just to add to Deanne's words, I'd also like to thank Aunty Marlene and all the family for sharing cultural knowledge with us. It means we have a closer understanding and a connection to the land that we live and work on as well, and it's a great privilege. Also being the last day of NAIDOC, I'd like to acknowledge that the original members of the Australian Aboriginals Progressive Association, which later became the National Aboriginals and Islander Day Observance Committee, NAIDOC, actually came together 99 years ago, and I'd like to acknowledge their commitment to dialogue and their ongoing fight for the intrinsic rights of their people. As we make the ongoing journey to rightful treaty, I'd like to personally acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded, it was stolen. It was taken, and it's a big year for the nation. May it be one of us listening to First Nations people instead of yelling over the top of them. So I'll try and stick to that today too.
You will. You will.
So I know that you hate talking about yourself, but I think it's important for people to get a little bit of background. I wondered if you would like to tell us, you were born in Warrnambool?
Yeah, I was born in Warrnambool.
Gundamara country.
Yeah.
And I know your grandmother was a big influence to you, and then, you know, things were pretty tough.
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy childhood.
No.
do you want to talk a little bit about growing up and moving to Melbourne?
Starting crying. No, yeah, I was born in Wadawurrung and I lived there. My father was at war and in the, I forget where, and Nepal or somewhere. And we lived there, and then my mum, she had a job as a cook, and we lived with my grandmother, and then we moved into the back of the Western Hotel where my mum worked. There's a little bluestone place, and it's actually still there. And we used to live in there for a while. And then when my father came back from the war, I think I was about 5, we moved back down to Melbourne, and he had a lot of land. He had over 100 acres from Churchill Avenue, Ballarat Road, and right across. But then the government took it off him and they built all commission houses there. So we lived with my other grandmother in her house because she had a mansion of a house. And we lived at the back, you know, like she had 2 toilets, a laundry, they had a bathroom, and it was a mansion. So we lived at the back, and we lived there for a while until my father got a house from the commission, and then we moved onto Ballarat Road. And then my father died when he was 42, right? And then I had to go to work. I was 14 when I started work, but you know, it was to survive. So shouldn't talk about that. I start crying.
Well, I think maybe we'll move to a happier story. I don't think I've ever asked you. I have a particular fondness for Barry Senior, so I would like to know how you met such a lovely man. And
we went to school together. We were 12, and I went to North Footscray Primary School, and then later on I went to Sunshine Technical School, and I was only about 11 or 12. And then I used to see him when I caught the bus home, because I lived a long way from Sunshine. And I used to think, you know, he was a bit of aura. But
Still
anyway,
is.
not thinking that ever, you know, but later on when I grew up and we started to go out, or when I started work actually, he worked next door to me in the factory next door. He was a cabinet maker. And we used to have lunch together every lunchtime. And then after that just grew, and then we were married when I was 19 and he was 21. So that's what happened.
And when did you and Barry decide to move back onto country?
Well, when Robert was at school, there was a lot of pollution.
Robert is the silent Gilson, for those
Yeah,
who don't
he's
know.
my eldest son.
There's an
He's
extra
a
one.
golden boy, they call him. Look at him. And anyway, Robert had his picture in the paper, and he said, oh, there's lots of pollution around here. And then we decided that we would find somewhere else to go because, and really, when we moved up to Ballarat and Gordon, where we live, the air was so much better for him. He had asthma. And, you know, the kids used to love it. You'd never find them. One day they we've got a creek goes through our place. And one day they dug a great big hole. And Deanne, oh God, I won't say it, but they left Deanne in the hole and we couldn't get her out. But oh God, you know, so, and then no, I won't say it what you did. And he was about, I will say it now, seeing you like that. That's why they call him
Is
the
everyone
rebel.
else starting to sweat?
Yeah. No, he was only about 3, and Deanne was in the hole, so he weed on her. Oh, God. So Barry was like the rebel. Robert was, he was mad, wasn't he? Because he used to go shooting and camping and do everything. And then Tammy and Deanne used to, they had this, on our place, we had mine shafts, and we had a mine shaft that was like an air thing. And Deanne used to go down there and get the clay. And I'd still got a clay pot, what she made, and she'd make clay pots. But it was so dangerous. If that thing had collapsed, they would have been bye-bye, you know. And then Tam with all the horses and everything, they just had such a good life at Gordon, didn't they? you did. And we yeah, and I used to, you know, always be doing things, painting and stuff. Deanne's been painting. Her teacher, when she was 8 years old, when we lived in Sunshine, said her artwork was like a 19-year-old's paintings. And she was pretty good, Deanne. And
Still
Tam,
is.
yeah, she still is.
Yeah.
She's excellent. And Tammy, she used to make these amazing patchwork quilts and things, you know, cushions. She's always been good with her hands. And him, he's always cooking. So he's very good with food, as you can see. Yeah, no, Barry's always had a talent for poetry and singing. He always could sing, even as a little kid. Yeah. And then Robert's always been the woodwork one, hasn't he? So they've all been pretty good so far.
Now, you took up painting relatively late in life. In actual fact, Deanne didn't actually learn from you. Deanne actually supplied you with
Deanne
it.
actually taught me what to do, how to prepare the canvas and do everything. Because when I was sick, I said to her, if you don't find me something to do, I'm going to go nuts sitting in this chair. I had treatment for a year, and then I got him to, he cut me out all these little houses. So I made 5 for all my grandchildren, 5 Thomas the Tank villages, and painted them, and that was for all of them. And then after that, when I got a lot
Do you
better...
guys still have that village?
Oh yeah, I still
wanna
have
see
it. And the kids, I think, have still got their houses. And when I got a bit better, Deanne brought me out a canvas and said, here, paint on it. I said, I don't know how to paint on that. So she gave me a few quick lessons, and that's what happened. Now, I started off painting the Dreamtime stories and the birds and everything. I used to love the birds because at our place we have lots and lots of birds. And my bird painting, the first one I sort of done, that's in the gallery near Tammy's exhibition now. And I got a surprise. I thought I could do with fixing up the background and the trees, but you know, other than that, I think the birds were okay.
I just loved it when you saw the budgie the other day and said, do you want to paint that
I
budgie?
don't know
It's
how I
pretty good."
painted that budgie because all those
Very
little lines, I had a brush that had about 2 hairs on it, and that's how I did it. And I use these really fine brushes, and I wear them out pretty quick, you know, so, because that's why it takes so long to do them all, because the faces have 5 coats of paint, and then, you know, 3 or 5, depends how I am.
So that was 2012, I think.
12, I think, yeah, that one.
And then had you already started painting history paintings?
No.
So
I
how did that
started
sort
then,
of
didn't I,
start?
Deanne? 2012? No, I didn't do them. Another lady did.
And that's why I said put them on canvas. They were great.
Yeah, oh, that was my applique wind cheaters. Yeah, the birds. Yeah. No, I didn't pay them. I didn't know how to. But anyway, we learned.
So you just started painting, and then you're showing the director of the Art Gallery of Ballarat at the time, Gordon Morrison. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, he came to Deanne's, and I only had like 7 little paintings that I painted for the kids, and I used to just give them away. And Gordon came and said, Deanne had an exhibition there, and Gordon said, get someone to go in with you. So she said, what about Mum? I said, oh no way. So anyway, he had a look at my little paintings and he said yes. And he really gave me my start. That's why I owe my career to Gordon Morrison, because he gave me a break.
Oh,
you
he
know?
was very
I
excited
love
when he
him.
came back.
Yeah. So
You took it up relatively late in life, but since then you've been projected on the sales of the Sydney Opera House, you've got work at Parliament House, you're in the NGA collection, the NGV collection, closer to home, Geelong Gallery, Art Gallery of Ballarat, the Eureka Centre, Sovereign Hills collection. So what made you start looking at colonial stories, and what made you realise that there were so many people missing? Because I know that you don't just put the Wadawurrung back in.
No,
you put people from Chinese, miners from right around the world, women, children.
Yeah.
What made you realise they were missing?
Well, The Chinese I like because I did a thing once for the Chinese and they were such nice people and they were treated badly like us. They used to throw rocks at them and, you know, really degrade the Chinese. And that's why I like the Chinese people. So that's why they're always in my paintings. And
Survivors.
yeah, payback.
And then also, as you've already alluded, like Bunjil the Crow,
Bunjil
the
the
Eagle,
Eagle.
sorry, and Wa
Well,
the Crow. And
the first couple, I never used to put them in. And then he said one day, what about our creators? And I thought, yes, what about our creators? So that's Barry's idea. I put the Eagle and the Crow because otherwise that's our creator spirit, is Bunjil, the Eagle. Yeah, and Wa the Crow is our totem. They're our two totems, so they deserve to be in there too.
And as well as recreating what you envision in the scenes, I love the paintings where you recreate what the scene could have been or perhaps should have been. I think it'll flick through soon, but we were talking about that. It's one of my favourites. What If?
Mine is too, and that one and the circus one is my favourite. I love that circus painting.
So the circus painting is about Eureka. So considering we're at the Eureka Centre, that's lovely.
I was actually looking for something, and I googled. I can't use a computer, but I can Google. Barry tells me not to because I keep buying stuff. I've got to use his money so I can give it to him, put it in the bank, and he says, "Oh, not again." You know, so so I was Googling for a ringmaster for something I was doing, and I found this story of the circus that came, you know, wanted Aboriginal boys to become circus performers at Eureka, and that was Jones's circus that was in the Eureka, you know, where the stockade and that was, and so that story I painted, I love that painting. I should have kept that painting. But anyway, you can't keep them. We've only kept one, haven't we? And Barry's got two. He's got the cricket match and we've got the Eureka, the Lalel Falls one, haven't we? Only because they're all in it. Hey?
Don't say it in front of Eureka.
What? Have you? Don't worry, Tam, we're doing you some too.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
So when you were talking about your tiny brushes, because every single person has their own facial features, they have different clothes, their boots. I mean, I love looking at them up close. There's, you know, tiny people playing tennis here, the guy with the cane.
Oh, what's that one? Oh, that's a What If one. That's a What If. Yeah.
The little baskets, you can see, sometimes you can see what they've got in their basket.
Yeah. But that one was what if we went to England and stuck a flag in the ground, would we own their country?
I think you can see the flag.
That's what that was about. Yeah. There's the flag.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fabulous painting.
Yeah, I like that. That's David, what's his name? Atkins painting. He brought that. I said to him, I can't sell it to you. It's got to go in the Biennale. And he waited for months, didn't he, Deanne? And then he paid for it and waited months and months, but he got a good buy.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
So how long would it, I mean, it's a big painting. It's 120 by 150.
Yeah, that took a while.
Tiny.
Yeah, that took a while, that one.
Do you work quite continuously or do you work at certain times of day?
With all these big ones for the Biennale, I used to get up at, you know, do my work, some work, and, you know, then I'd start painting at 10 o'clock. And then sometimes if I had an idea in my brain, I would keep painting until 3 o'clock in the morning. But then I cut that back to 12 o'clock. And now I can't even stay awake at 7:30. I'm in bed. So, you know, I just do what I can in the day and then that's about it. Now, their father wakes up at 5 o'clock every morning and you think, oh, no, not again. Sometimes it's 4:30, isn't it, Barry, when you go to work? And that's why I've got adjusted to his hours now and that's what I do. But I do paint every day.
Well, you would have needed to. By
Yeah.
2015, this had gone
Oh,
bonkers.
yeah, no.
So
And
you-
I don't believe it. It just happened, and I sort of think, is that right? You know?
it's definitely right.
Yeah.
So 2015, you won the People's Choice Award for the Victorian
Yeah.
Indigenous Art Awards.
Yeah.
And then from then on, things really did go off. So
Yeah.
speaking of David, he was the director
Yeah.
of White Night.
White Night.
So
He's
you
a
were
lovely
in
man.
the first White Nights, Melbourne, Ballarat.
Yeah, Ballarat, weren't we in
Bendigo?
the Melbourne ones, Deanne? Yeah, the first one at the museum.
When that first one, we made a film and I had 63 of Mum's paintings in it. She had 63 paintings on
Did
it,
I?
which I couldn't believe.
Yeah, it was a huge body of work. I
Yeah.
mean, you'd been painting for less than what, 10 years.
And that was flat out, wasn't it then? It got a bit crazy.
And then you were invited to have a solo exhibition at the Art Gallery of New South Wales for the Sydney Biennale.
Yes. Oh,
Sorry, guys, what goes on tour stays on tour. But,
oh,
that was a fun trip.
oh.
I had to watch his, because I was stuck mine in the hair.
Yeah, it was good. So for me, one of my funniest memories was the Japanese TV crew
Oh,
chasing you down the road.
And they're all talking in Japanese, and they're saying, and then the other one would translate, didn't she?
Yeah.
And I'm, oh my God. And he was such a fan of mine, that man. I felt he was so
beautiful.
lovely.
It was really
Yeah,
good.
and then he said, in the thing, you know. But anyway, it was
So
good.
how did that come about?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I do know. My paintings that the City of Melbourne own, the Land Lost, Land Stolen Treaty, and the Tunnaminawait and Mullaboyhini, I did a commission for the City of Melbourne, and that was about the first Aboriginal people to be hung, the first hanging in Victoria, and they sent me up a big thing like this. In the meantime, I got sick. And I had to go to hospital for 6 days, didn't I? I said, I can't stay here, I've got to get home and finish my painting. Yeah, I had the gallbladder thing out. And then we went, my friend read it all for me, and she highlighted everything. Then I'd come home and I just read it all and painted it. So there was a lot of things they wanted in it, which I put in it. Like there was the market, Victorian market, and the wall that's still there. The wall's still there, and about 5 feet or something away from that, the Aboriginal people are buried. They never moved them ones. And yeah, so it's really interesting. There's a lot of history. And then I had an old plan that I'd found of the Melbourne Gardens. So we put the Melbourne Gardens when they were first started in there, and the Victoria Market, how it was all in the street. And they were building the jail, the new Melbourne jail, and that had to go in there. There was a lot of things, and the black and white people, which I got off an old painting like the black and the white people and the black dog and the white dog, you know, like that. Yeah, so there was a lot to go in it, and that did take a while. But when I come back from the hospital, I just went flat out. You know, to finish it, I was on a timeline.
How many
Oh my
works
God.
were? I mean, it was a big show at
Oh
New
yeah,
South Wales.
that was the biggest painting I've ever done. Hey? Oh yeah, that was at ACCA.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was at ACCA. Oh yeah, I'm off the track again like I usually go. There was Mammy, what was her name? Mammy from,
Oh,
yeah, from the Tokyo Art Museum. She saw my paintings there and she rang Deanne up. Well, the guy rang Deanne. And then she rang her and she said, would Marlene go in to my show in the Sydney Biennale? And I said to her, I haven't got time for that. Tell them I'm too busy. But anyway, I didn't know what a Sydney Biennale, a Biennale was. I hadn't been doing this long, you know. So anyway, that's how I come to do that. And then it was flat out again, wasn't it? It was lucky that they hired a lot, you know, got a lot of the paintings from collections, and I didn't have, I'd done 3 extra, didn't I? And one of them really should have stayed in Sydney because it was of the Parliament House, the first one, the convicts and everything. But this American billionaire, he brought the 3 of them that were for sale, and he took them back to San Francisco, and he donated them to the San Francisco Art Museum. So that's where them 3 are. Then he wanted me to go, didn't he, dear, on his aeroplane. He was going to come and, come out and take me to America. And I said, I don't fly.
No.
So I didn't
Send
go.
you a yacht instead.
Yeah, I didn't go. So I missed that. I should have probably gone. I've been on the aeroplane once, and that was to Sydney for my exhibition, and I will never go on another
Well,
one.
you took the train.
I take the train.
Yeah, you took the train.
What was the name on the plane?
Yeah, I was born in Warrnambool, and the name on the plane, which I thought was a really good sign, Warrnambool. So there you go. I was quite happy to go on the plane, but coming back, we got stuck in the air for 3/4 an hour, and I nearly freaked out. And I said, "That's it, no more. I'm not going on no airplanes." What? Oh yeah. Oh, jeez, it was terrible. We were put from our plane onto a smaller one, and that was worse. Never again. I go on the train. The second time we took him up there for the Sydney Opera House, we got paid, didn't we, Barry, to go there for a week, and we made him go on the train. It was 13 hours it is, but me and my husband don't mind. We like the train.
So this was Wadawurrung.
Wadawurrung, yeah, Wonder Woman.
So you were projected on the Sydney Opera House
Yeah, I know. I
with
cried.
Kayleen Whiskey,
Yeah.
Sally Mulder,
Yeah.
Judith Inkamala,
Yeah.
Marlene Rubentunter,
Yeah, she's a funny lady.
and Aunty Elaine Russell. Can you tell us a little bit about seeing your work projected on the Opera House and also meeting these other great artists?
Oh, those great artists. Those ladies are from in the Central Desert, some of them, and they were so lovely. They, when we were sitting there, I sat next to Marlene, and because we're both the same name, and she kept grabbing me. So, oh, it was so lovely. And then I was crying,
I
because
bet.
when I saw that, I thought, I don't believe this.
I cried when I
This
saw it
is
on the
not-
news.
Oh, it was something, I mean, really, it's something you would never, ever, ever think would happen. And that particular painting, it was called Ballarat, My Country, and I loved that painting. And then we went to the art gallery, didn't we, Barry, afterwards? Oh, that was another night. And Barry sung right through the art gallery, nobody there, and it was so amazing. And when we got there, I couldn't see anything because I had the pillars in front of us. And when we got around the corner, here's my painting in with all the masters, and it's in there on permanent collection. It's in the permanent, it's on permanent display. I just started bawling again. Now what do you do?
Can you
it's
tell us a
something-
bit about that painting?
Yeah, I like painting the Goldfields ones, as you probably know. And that one, well, it had everything in it, didn't it, Barry? Yeah, it sort of was Ballarat, My Country from the start. Our people, right up, wasn't it, Barry? It was really, really good. I liked that one.
So next time you're in New South Wales.
Yeah, I had people emailed him or something, or text him, I don't know what you do, and they sent, didn't they, and said, I'm in Sydney at the art gallery looking at Aunty Marlene's painting, and that's amazing. I can't believe it. Yeah, it was so nice to go in there and see. But my painting looked out of place with all the masters. That's what I said to him. No, it did. It's sort of there, and there are all these beautiful frames and everything, and it's so nice. But anyway, that's the way it goes.
So back to your Eureka paintings,
Yeah.
and you've done that several
Yeah.
times, although we were just commenting, this is actually the first one you've titled
I've called you
Eureka.
Eureka.
Special.
I must have saved it for you, Anthony, because I've never called any of them Eureka, and a lot of them. And why do I keep painting them? Because I like painting Ballarat and the Eureka thing, and my agent says, Marlene, paint more of those. Everybody wants them. So what do? You just have to keep doing them. Yeah, so that's true. Yeah, so anyway, in
And this is the
Anthony's one, the King Billy's in that one anyway. If it had been a bit bigger, I would have given you more, you know, but it wasn't very big. But yeah, so that's, you can sort of see, I'll come over here. No, that's not it. You can sort of see the black lady leading the white girl into the camp, because that's where they ran. And if you wonder about that, one of the Yules, I think it was George Yule, he lived with an Aboriginal woman, and that's why the white people were familiar to the camp. You know, so that's why when the fighting started, they ran to be with them. And this is King Billy, okay? Got to put him in there.
Can you talk a bit about King Billy and Queen Mary?
Yeah.
Or not?
Say? Oh, yeah. King Billy, well, I had people send me a story that our King Billy was buried in the Ballarat Cemetery, the old Ballarat Cemetery, but we don't know if that's right. But I had, you know, lots of information, and I still think it's right myself, but then they all say, no, it isn't. But anyway, but Mary, they all look so sad in their eyes, you know, when you see Mary. She's got her little possum skin, you know, scarf on, and she used to make the baskets. This is where Tammy gets her talent from, the baskets and everything. Yeah, I don't know, it's so sad what happened to them.
Because I think, you know, so much displacement.
Yeah.
It's really extraordinary what you've all done,
Yeah.
Recapturing and reclaiming that culture.
Well, yeah. And they were, you know, they said there was no, this is why I started to do this, to try to put our people back on the map. And they said there was no surviving Wadawurrung. I call them Wadawurrung because that's what my grandmother called it, Wadawurrung. But now they changed it to Wadawurrung. But, you know, they said there was none, but that wasn't true. If they had researched it all, they would have found that there was 3 survivors, and one of them was my great-grandfather. That's my grandmother's father, and he lived in Warrnambool. Well, he moved to Warrnambool, and he married an Irish school teacher, and they had 7 children, and one was my grandmother, and she was born at the Framlingham Mission. And, yeah, so that's how it all sort of started. And today, there's about 430, isn't there, Tammy? Or how many? There's a few more than that. Yeah, so that they did survive, and there were survivors. And, you know, in my Nana's family, my own grandmother, she had 13 children, so she really did contribute to it all.
Picked up the numbers.
Yeah, she
And
did.
speaking of children and children's children, you're now a great-grandmother.
Yeah, I am. Little
Arlo. Yep.
Beautiful little boy.
So how do you see the work that you've been all doing through song and dance and painting and research, unbelievable amount of research?
Lots of research.
How do you envision that affecting
It'll be
the next
good
generation?
For them. Well, it'll be good for the next generation because they won't have to have had to start it all off. They won't have to find out, you know, like Barry with his songs, Kate and Deanne, and no, none of them can sing. But, you know, Tammy with her baskets and everything. Like one of them baskets came from the Irish Museum. Our cousin went over there and she took a photo of it. And Tammy recreated the same basket. Now, a lot of them, you know, baskets and things were done by Queen Mary. And I remember my grandmother, we went to learn basket making, which I am no good at. And I remember they had a dilly bag. And I said, I've done this before. My grandmother had showed me how to do that when I was about 10. And that I didn't take it up because I didn't like it. Tammy does, but anyway.
Got the skills well covered.
Got the skills right there.
So, as we were saying, you know, things got quite crazy, and I think it almost got a little too crazy.
Too crazy.
So you managed to tell Martin to put the skids on a bit, but you've still got a lot of projects on the go.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about
well,
what you're
what did
working
we just do, Deanne? We just did the Wyndham Vale. They asked us to go down there, and this is completely different, something I would never have done. But we made a couple of posters, and my poster was the treaty at the back, and my people signing the treaty with, what's his name, Batman, and yeah, and they had
Because you've done
treaty
quite a lot
now.
of work with Batman and Buckley.
Yeah, they sell. That's why I keep doing it.
You heard it first. Wiley.
I get asked to do them, so I have to keep doing it. And I land not for sale, but it was so hard for me not to paint them. You know what I mean? They were only black and white, and to me it didn't look right because I like to paint my people, my little people. But anyway, they were all right, weren't they, Deanne? So that was a couple of weeks ago we done that. Now what else I do?
Are you painting at the moment?
Yeah, I'm doing the corroboree one from Sovereign Hill, the moonlight, you know. So I've started it, and something else I've started, but I won't say. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, we've got the Sovereign Hill project.
And you've had a long association with Sovereign Hill.
Yeah, a long time.
And it's great to see them using those stories in a
Yeah.
bit more of a wider reflection on what was actually happening at the Goldfields. There's a lot of work to do. Do you want to talk a bit about that new project, or is that all?
No, it's not hush up, is it? What school? Oh, yes, that was amazing. We did, Tammy did the eel trap, and it sort of, you know, there. And Kate did the lines and fluorescent, and I did, I've got the book in there, I can show you the photo of that. Yeah, and it was the emu in the sky, and it's a great big book, Jan. You have to get it out, doesn't it? Yeah, and they put all my artwork, didn't they, Tammy? They put the story. They designed the school around the story. Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, and the carpet had the moon, because it had the moon with the bat on it. And in the, what was that, the gym room, they had the galah, the big, was it a galah or a Corella or something? Yeah, the Corella. Now, you'll have to find the painting. You can't see that, it's upside down. Yeah, you find the whole painting, and then you can see what happened. And then at the front of the school, they had the eagle, didn't they? Bunjil. Oh, it looked amazing. Gosh. Oh, God, it was amazing. And that was in February, wasn't it, that was opened? We did it last year, I think, but they didn't open the school. You got it for us, lovey. Yeah. You told the story, and I just painted it. I think it's up the back, Deanne. Right up the back or up the front. No, it's not it. That's the front of it with the eagle on the building, yeah. So you can sort of see it there. Looks amazing. I nearly died when I saw that. I thought, how could they... They're real people, yeah. Yeah. It looked good, didn't it, Tam? So did yours, so did Kate's. So, you know, it's not just me. Riverdale, wasn't it? I had it wrote down. Can't remember. Well,
What an extraordinary experience. Makes me want to go back to primary school.
Riverdale East Primary School. It was. That was that was an honour. That was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, creating real change.
Yeah. Oh, for White Night that was though, Barry.
Well, I mean, the White Night, that was pretty
That was
extraordinary.
on
You were
the
on
NGV.
Yeah, because you were on the
Yeah.
museum one year, you were on the
Yeah.
NGV
Yeah.
another year.
Yeah.
In town,
Yeah.
you were in Ballarat, and those beautiful birds they made that looked like they flew up the road. It was a bundle.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bunjil. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very beautiful.
Yeah, that was good, Dad. I liked that. That was from my Eagle.
So beyond the painting, I mean, you have been doing a lot of collaborations over the years
Yeah,
and
well,
inspiring other artists to
I hope so. I'll
bring
keep
that up as
going.
well.
Indigo, keep going. We're teaching her at the minute. Well, she doesn't need teaching. She does her own thing.
Well, you
She's
all do your own
amazing.
thing. There's no similarity in styles of.
She's been with me painting since she was 4-year-old, haven't you? We got up to, I've still got the little one in the rumpus room where she started to learn how to paint the sky, and she left it there, didn't you? That was it. Then she went out on her own and done her own thing, which is good.
Well, I could talk about your paintings all day, and I'm curious
probably
to know
overdone,
the
aren't we?
painting that you are painting at the moment. But I know that's a bit of a secret. So As
That's
a-
only
it's a
the one.
gift?
Oh, the other one's a gift, yeah.
Yeah. But next show.
She knows who it's for anyway. She wanted the eel traps in the water, so that's what she's getting. About time, Tam, eh? Tam keeps asking me all year, every year, when am I getting my painting? Because these two.
Well, I was just looking at.
And
We
your
were talking
brother.
about this earlier, and the Art Gallery of Ballarat has several major works, but some of my favourites are the tiny works you do. You
Yeah,
make really
the
little
little
tiny
ones.
15 sort of
Yeah.
centimetre studies, and they've got
I
a.
haven't done many of them, and I haven't done them for a while.
Well, you haven't had a lot of time, but
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's people along, is it Yarmlock? And
Yeah.
they've got the eel trap out and
Yeah.
having a bit of a feed on the side. It's a gorgeous little painting. So next time that one's out at the Art Gallery, it is on the website. I highly recommend having a look at that one. You've also painted sporting events. I mean, your work really does reflect the day-to-day.
Oh,
This one's a
yes.
market scene.
What one is it? Is that Market Day?
Yeah.
That one went to Wes Farmers in Western Australia. They just brought that one for their collection, didn't they?
And again, reflecting all the different people that would have been living
Yeah.
here at the time. I mean, Ballarat had an extremely multicultural
Yeah.
population on the goldfields prior to the White Australia policy. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us?
Not really. I don't know. What else do you want to know?
Well, I imagine Martin is, so Marlene is represented by Martin Brown in Sydney, a very reputable gallery.
Paddington, Sydney.
So I presume that they are probably asking you for a show all the time. How do you
Yeah,
feel about
every
doing
year.
a full show, or are you really preferring to just
I
work
don't
on?
do the big ones anymore. I find it it's a bit too much because then I don't get up so early. Well, seeing I get up too early and go to bed too early. But yeah, no, so I cut them down. So the biggest ones I'll do now is 86 by 100. But, you know, you have to sort of scale down a little bit.
But you do have the new studio.
Yes.
Barry's been building. Barry
Yes.
Senior.
Yeah, Junior helped him. Now, what happened, he went to put some beams in the roof because it was a little bit saggy. And the next thing you know, he comes in, he says, oh, we're building a room up there. I said, why don't you build it on the ground? I'm like, how old do you reckon I am? Going to keep walking upstairs. Well, you know what I mean? But anyway.
Did they put in stairs, or is it just a rope ladder?
There's 14 stairs. I count them as I go up. And then there's another 3 up there, isn't there, Barry? But yeah, it's pretty good. Because we had all these old lead light windows in the shed, and they've been there for 100 years. So we used all them up there, the door and the windows and everything. Because he's a bit of a hoarder, him and him, steptoe and son. So,
That's funny because I thought he said you were the hoarder.
no, I just like antique furniture, that's all. Look, I've fit one more thing in my room up there of antique furniture. I've got 2 bookcases, the cedar ones, and 2 of them other things, and one of them, I've got one more in. No, one more.
Yeah. Is that why that's why you've made them a bit smaller,
I
easier?
don't know how to tune into Marketplace because you've got to log in. So I just use it for a little while, hopefully find what I want, and then they cut me off, you know, and then I come back the next day and continue on. I don't know how to log in and he won't show me, so anyway, not to worry.
Well, Ballard, it has been an absolute delight to
Thank
chat to you
you.
today. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
We'd also like to both thank Anthony and
Yes,
the Eureka
thank you,
Centre
Anthony.
for inviting us
Thank you,
today.
Eureka Centre. You're amazing.
More than anything else, thank you to all of you for coming along and joining us.
Thank you. I didn't think I'd have any fans, to tell you the truth. Oh.
Thanks very much. We'll be around for a little while if
Yeah.
people would like to say
You
hello.
can have a look at that book if you want to, of that Riverdale. And I do have a few left over. What happened? Martin sent me this big box of, what do you call them, dear? Catalogues. And because he'd sold all the paintings before the exhibition, he sent me the whole box of bloody catalogues. So there's some there if you want one. There's not a lot left, but you know.
Don't fight.
If you're lucky enough, you can have except those 2.
Well,
the
while
only
Marlene's
2 I
getting
got
that
left.
sorted out,
Hang
we'd
on.
also
There
like to
they
thank
all are.
Sarah. Thank you so much for actually setting this all up, and to
Yeah,
Jace
okay.
for looking after
Yeah,
our
not that
sound.
one, because they're the only 2 I've got. Okay. I'll just leave them
Where
there.
are
I
we
think
at
you're
now?
right to go.
Am I right to go?
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, thank you very much, Kiri,
not
for
to
leading the discussion, and thank you, Aunty Marlene, very much for being with us, and for everything you've done for the Eureka Centre around this painting and beyond. A small presentation for you, and please join me in thanking Aunty Marlene and Kiri. Oh, you're welcome.